Blindness. Imagine waking up one day and suddenly you're completely blind. That's what happens in this world. Something starts spreading and people just lose their sight, but instead of darkness, everything turns white. They eventually realize it's contagious. The government's response is simple. They isolate everyone who's infected, locking them inside an abandoned asylum with almost no support, just soldiers outside who shoot anyone trying to escape. At first, people try to stay organized, sharing food and holding on to some sense of normality, but that falls apart quickly once supplies run low. Life inside becomes unbearable. There's no real hygiene, no proper care, and even small problems turn deadly. Everything that makes society function just disappears. We follow this through a woman who can still see, but hides it to stay with her husband, so she ends up witnessing everything. Soon, people start fighting over resources. One group takes control of the food, first trading it for valuables, then demanding women in exchange, using hunger as leverage. After a brutal war, there's a fire and people escape, only to find that the outside world has already fallen apart too. And in the end, what happened inside just spreads outward on a much larger scale. The Purge. The end of crime is something governments have always tried to achieve. But in the Purge, they stopped trying to eliminate crime. Instead, they limit it to one night. Once a year, for 12 hours, all crime becomes legal. No police, no emergency services, no legal consequences. The idea is that if people can release all their anger in one controlled window, the rest of the year stays stable. And on paper, it kind of works. Crime rates go down, the economy improves, society seems functional again. But that order depends on something pretty obvious. A lot of people gotta go. Not everyone experiences the Purge the same way. People with money lock themselves inside heavily secured houses with alarms, weapons, and private protection. Poor people have to defend themselves with whatever they've got. There are even groups that treat it like a tradition, like it's necessary for society to function. Others use it in a more calculated way, targeting specific individuals or settling personal issues, taking advantage of the fact that nothing is punished. The story follows a family trying to stay safe inside their home until a group shows up, heavily armed, trying to break in. Now it's just about surviving the next 12 hours. What makes this universe so disturbing isn't just the violence, it's how quickly people embrace it once they know there are no consequences. And of course, there's also the fact that someone can show up at your door, heavily armed, and there's no one you can call. That's also very scary. The Truman Show. Truman Burbank has lived his entire life inside a giant set. His city, the sky, the people around him, everything is fake. It's all part of a 24/7 television show, broadcast to the entire world, and he has no idea. Everyone in his life is an actor. His wife isn't his wife. His best friend isn't his friend. Even his mother is part of the act. Every conversation is controlled. He's never had a real relationship, except for one moment. He meets a girl who's actually part of the show, but unlike everyone else, she breaks character and pulls him aside, telling him his entire life is fake. Before she can explain more, she's dragged away, but he never forgets her. She's the only person who ever felt real to him. The entire world around him exists to keep the show going, and it works. People watch him every day. They follow his life, his routine, his emotions. They say they love him, but at the same time, they're watching a man live his entire life in a cage. His choices are manipulated. Even his fears are engineered. As a child, they made him afraid of water just to stop him from ever leaving. At the center of it all is Christoph, the creator of the show. He controls everything and believes he's giving Truman a better life. Even his wife plays along, pretending to care while treating everything like part of the show. What makes this world so unsettling isn't just that it's fake, it's that everyone knows and still watches. Children of men. The end of the world is often imagined as something loud and catastrophic, but in Children of Men, it's the opposite. Humans just stop having children. There's no virus, no explanation, and no cure. The youngest person alive is 18 years old. Instead of collapsing all at once, society slowly decays. Governments become increasingly authoritarian. The UK remains one of the last stable countries, but it functions as a police state. Immigrants are rounded up, detained, and treated as less than human. There's propaganda everywhere, soldiers on every corner, but no real sense of purpose behind any of it. Some give up entirely. Others keep the system going out of habit. Groups like the Fishes emerge, originally fighting for immigrant rights and resisting the government. But over time, internal conflicts and power struggles take over. In the middle of all this, there's Theo, a man disconnected from everything around him. He's asked to help transport a young woman, which initially seems routine, until it's revealed that she's pregnant. The first pregnancy in nearly 2 decades. In a world without a future, this changes everything. The child becomes the most valuable thing on Earth. The government, the rebels. Everyone wants control over it. Not to save humanity, necessarily, but to use it. If you think about it, nothing really changes at first. People could have just kept living. No one else is being born, but you're already here. Life could go on. But the idea that humanity has no future, that it ends with us, is something people just can't handle. Because apparently, we humans have this innate drive to keep our lineage going. The lobster. In this world, being single is illegal. Anyone without a partner is taken to a place called the hotel. There, they're given a limited amount of time to find someone. If they fail, they're transformed into an animal of their choice. The system doesn't care about real connection. What matters is finding someone with a shared trait. It can be anything: a limp, nosebleeds, short-sightedness. As long as it matches, it's enough. People don't fall in love. They convince each other they're compatible. And if they're not, they pretend. The alternative is no longer being human. But outside the hotel, there's another group. They reject the system with one strict rule: no relationships. If 2 people get close, they're punished. So in one place, love is mandatory. In the other, it's forbidden. The story follows a man who fails to adapt and escapes. For the first time, he forms a real connection, something honest. But that is punished by death in this part of the world. The reason this universe is so disturbing is that it's built on extremes. It punishes you for being human and for being different. There's no space for something real to exist in between. Equilibrium. After a devastating Third World War, society reaches a conclusion. Emotions are the problem. They're seen as the reason behind violence, hatred, and destruction. So instead of trying to control people, the government creates a new law. Emotions are forbidden. A new state is formed. Libria. Everything that can trigger emotion is banned. Music, books, art, everything. To make sure no one feels anything, everyone is required to take a daily drug called Prozium. It suppresses emotion completely. People who stop taking it are hunted down and executed. There are officers trained for that purpose. They search homes, destroy anything considered emotional, and eliminate anyone who resists. There's no trial and no discussion. The story follows one of these officers, someone who has spent his life enforcing the system, until one day he misses a dose, and for the first time, he starts to feel. Things he once destroyed now have meaning. The reason this universe is so disturbing is that even if emotions carry danger, they're the very thing that makes us human. It's one of those cases where the cure ends up being worse than the disease. Battle Royale. In Battle Royale, Japan is in crisis. The economy is failing, unemployment is rising, and young people have stopped respecting authority. Schools lose control, students rebel, and the government is in panic. To solve this problem, they create a law. Every year, a random class is taken and placed in an isolated location with no escape and no help. Then they're given a single objective: kill each other until only one remains. If no one wins, everyone dies. Each student receives basic supplies and a random weapon, which means some are armed while others are almost defenseless. They wear collars that track them and enforce the rules, exploding if someone tries to escape or refuses to play. The area is divided into zones that gradually become forbidden, forcing everyone to move and eventually confront each other. There's a time limit, and as it goes on, there's less and less space to hide. Waiting too long or trusting the wrong person can get you killed. The reason this universe is so disturbing isn't just how brutal the situation is. It's that you're forced to go through it against people you care about. Contagion. In this world, you can't see the threat coming. It comes from the most ordinary interactions. A simple touch, a shared object, a brief contact between people is enough for a virus to spread. By the time the first cases are taken seriously, it's already moving through cities, crossing borders, and reaching places no one is monitoring yet. The system tries to respond, but it's always reacting to something that has already happened. Meanwhile, the number of infected continues to grow. Daily life starts to shift in subtle ways at first, first, and then more aggressively as people begin to realize how easily it spreads. Public spaces become risks, basic interactions feel unsafe, and trust between people starts to break down. There's an effort to contain it and eventually develop a solution, but everything depends on time, and time is exactly what's missing. The story follows different people trying to deal with the same situation from different positions, none of them fully in control of what's happening. The reason this universe is so disturbing is that nothing about it feels exaggerated or artificial. For a lot of people, it feels familiar.